What is up, everyone? And thank you for tuning in to another episode of Fantasy in 15 with myself and my wonderful, awesome, super fit co-host, Joe Pepe. We are here with Fantasy Faceoff, Faceoff Sports Network, and today we are going to talk about Hero RB draft strategy. Now, it is draft season, guys, and we know that you've probably been in a football slumber all offseason and you're just getting back into things. So we're going to roll over this Hero RB strategy as well as give you some targets in your drafts that will help make this strategy worthwhile and successful for your fantasy drafts. Now, I don't know about you, Joe, but this tends to be the way that I go in drafts. I'm kind of just a Hero RB guy. This is a strategy I've really leaned into, especially this season.
Yeah, I mean, I fully agree. I lean into it for the most part, unless the draft board it falls to me where I have to go heavy T with a lot of running backs. That's just the way the NFL is now. They pass more than they run, so I'm leaning towards pass catchers.
Yeah, it's kind of gone to where now. Yesterday we talked about zero RB strategy, which is somewhat similar to hero RB strategy. The main difference being that you do get that one, some people call it anchor running back strategy as well. You get that one anchor back in the first couple of rounds and you punt the position until late. Good example of a draft that I did for another Face-Off show. It was for the mental health check-in with Dave Heilman, which, guys, if you're watching this, check out that show. It's a phenomenal show. I went Cooper Kupp with my first pick, 107. Took Ramondre Stevenson at 2-6. I didn't draft another running back until the 7th round. I went Cook and Gibson. And look, dude, Ramondre Stevenson, pairing them with James Cook and Antonio Gibson.
Yeah, I love that.
That's not a bad running back room.
No, I love that. There's a lot of explosion in that running back room. So
right.
I'm fine with that.
Right. And guys you should be targeting in this tier here as your first pick. This is the most important one. Guys, now, if you can get Bijan Robinson in the 2nd round, I'm okay with that. He's going, in my opinion, too early because Atlanta still has Tyler Algier, okay? And we heard Arthur Smith talk about, I'm going with whoever has the hot hand. So if Tyler Algier gets hot, he's going to start getting the lion's share of the carries in this offense. Bijan probably will be a top 10 running back, but he's going as running back 3 right now. So he's a guy in hero running back I'm kind of steering away from.
Yeah, it's not a bad idea to steer away because we talked about Tyler Algier a little bit yesterday, and I like it. He's going to get used. He's obviously high draft capital, but I do think he's going a little bit early. The guy I'm kind of aiming for, the 2 guys, Tony Pollard, Nick Chubb. If I can get either one of them at their respective ADPs, I am just hammering home wide receivers around it because when I get my anchor running back, I want volume on volume on volume on a great offense. And unlike Atlanta, which we don't know if it's going to be a great offense, we know the Dallas Cowboys are going to be a great offense. We know that the Cleveland Browns have the opportunity to be a great offense. So give me those guys all day, every day, because I have not shut up about Nick Chubb all offseason.
And I wasn't as high on Tony Pollard as a lot of people have been this offseason, but seeing that they did basically nothing to shore up that running back room leads me to believe that in what's about to be this might be close to what we saw Baltimore do last season.
It's wild. It
sounds like that's what McCarthy wants to do.
Yeah, and the backup is Rico Dowdle or whatever his last name is.
Rico Dowdle.
Yeah, if we have to question what his name is, he's not that important to the system, to the playbook, to the scheme. Ronald Jones will show up eventually if he's even still on that team. Deuce Vaughn is about the size of my calf muscle, so he's only going to have so much play in the scheme. Tony Pollard's got a lot of time, and like you said, Mike McCarthy wants to run the ball. He said, I want to slow it down. I want to give my defense a chance to rest, recuperate, get back out there with full strength. And to do that, you run the ball a little more. You slow it down. And Tony Pollard's the only guy there.
Right. Well, and when you're drafting hero running back, when you're going after this anchor guy in your first couple of rounds, that's what you want to see. You want a guy who's mostly alone in the backfield, who's not going to be challenged for carries, which is why I'm kind of off of Bijan at his current ADP. I really like Derrick Henry as an anchor running back. He kind of fits into that tier for me, just because we know he's going to see a ton of volume. And in a lot of offenses, you'd be scared by the emergence of Tyjae Spears as that pass-catching threat that he's become, who can run the ball very well as well. But when you've got Derrick Henry, who's not a pass-catching back anyway, but he's going to touch the ball 300 times this season, and we know he's efficient.
Yes.
Other guys I really like, Ramondre Stevenson, obviously. I know they've got Zeke, but you guys, they released Kevin Harris and they traded Pierre Strong. There isn't a lot in this backfield outside of Ramondre and Zeke. And even if Zeke does take some of those goal line carries, that's fine. That's what Damian Harris did to Ramondre last season anyway, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I think you nailed it with those players. And then somebody I like to add into it on a good offense again, with no one really around him, Joe Mixon. And I get it. Joe Mixon is like an unsexy pick, but he's on a good offense. There's nobody to his talent level there. And there's rumors already of them wanting to move on, which means that they could possibly do that next year. And just like we talked about it before, you run those types of running backs until the wheels fall off. And he's getting up there. The wheels are falling off. They're going to have to protect Joe Burrow because he's coming off the injury. Now, he's probably fine, but he's a franchise quarterback. You want to protect him. He's another guy that I'm like, okay, he's on a good offense. He's got the volume. Give me Joe Mixon. And you're getting them in like the third round. So then you can load up with people in the beginning with wide receivers like Stephon Diggs and CeeDee Lamb and Amon-Ra St. Brown and Garrett Wilson, whoever you want to fit in there.
Yep. And like even in one QB leagues, like the going hero running back allows you to maybe reach a little bit. Like I took Justin Fields in the 5th round of a 1 QB because I wanted him, but I was already stacked up at wide receiver. I already had Cooper Kupp, Jerry Jeudy, which that pick looked really good before he got hurt.
Yeah.
And DJ Moore, who I'm still really high on. And I got to stack DJ Moore and Justin Fields. You know,
That's
if I'm not
beautiful.
running through if I'm not running hero running back, though, I don't know that happens.
No,
if I'm going after a running back with the 3rd or 4th, you're not going to make that stack happen.
No.
Now, and that's the thing that's so great about this strategy to me is that it does really allow you to build up wide receivers, which the majority of leagues are at the very least half PPR scoring. Yes. If you're not familiar with PPR scoring, it's point per reception. That's where a lot of leagues are moving to right now. So in point per reception, half PPR, you've got positional premiums in a lot of leagues just to make it more interesting. Get that one anchor running back, and you can load up on these guys who are going to get additional points for you. Now, it's not just the yardage and the touchdowns with guys like Justin Jefferson. If he has 115 catches, that's 115 additional PPR points that you could miss out on if you don't go with the hero RB strategy.
Yeah, no, I agree. And like, you know, it's the way the league is moving. And if you don't know what half PPR is at this point, like you must live under a rock. I know, Nate, you're being nice and explaining it, but come on, where the hell are you people been for like years? But
fair.
It's where the league is moving. The NFL. The NFL is literally passing the ball more than they ran ever. It's never been higher. So it behooves you, and that's my fancy word of the day, behoove. But it behooves you to go out, get the wide receivers, even maybe get an elite tight end, the Kelseys, the Mark Andrews, like you said, win a position, lock up wide receivers, get one running back, and after 6 rounds, you're set. Like you just said with your Justin Fields thing. You just locked up a Konami quarterback, built a stack on it, and had a strong wide receiver core around it. That's a strong start. And just today, we saw Jeff Wilson go down and Kendre Miller go down the injury. Running backs almost are a dime a dozen. It's why the NFL doesn't pay them. Again, I know this is fantasy and it's all about stats, but pay attention to what the NFL is doing because they are smarter than us when it comes to this. We sit on the couch. They do not. Pay attention to that stuff.
Well, some of them do. I mean, some of these front office guys, I'm in better shape than some of them.
They might have a couch in the office. They might have a couch.
So now you might be asking, like, Nate, Joe, okay, so I got my anchor running back. Now what do I do? How do I not flop in the running back department? Well, first of all, as we're talking about how the league is moving towards a more pass-heavy approach, right? So with those flex slots that you could be filling in an additional couple running backs with, you're likely going to be using those slots for tight ends and wide receivers, high volume guys with high upside. Then now there are some running backs like that you can get in this type of build in the later rounds. I mentioned 2 earlier that I love, and I've been snagging everywhere I can. James Cook in Buffalo, who, yes, they brought in Damian Harris. Damian Harris is probably going to get a fair amount of the goal line work, right? And third down work. But we don't care about that with James Cook because he's our RB2, maybe RB3 flex play guy. He's going to get that passing volume for those PPR points. Last season, we were seeing him targeted 4, 5, 6 times a game. His senior season at Georgia, he didn't drop a pass. So this is a guy we know can be involved. And now they've got a running back in Damian Harris, much better than having Devin Singletary, right?
Yeah.
Damian Harris, Damian Harris is a guy you can get a little bit later as well. Both of these Buffalo running backs. Devin Singletary is a guy who's going about the same place as Damian Harris. These are guys with touchdown upside. They might not be in the sexiest position, but you're getting them 10th, 11th, 12th, 13th round to fill out your running back room. Joe, who are some guys you've been going after later that maybe would surprise some of our viewers?
Well, I was doing it before today, and I'm going to be hammering it home for the last week before football starts. But Jamal Williams, he's with the Saints. There's no Alvin Kamara to start the season. Kendre Miller just pulled a hamstring. And here's the thing, it's not like a broken arm or something. It's a soft tissue injury. Kinesiology major here. That's not the easiest thing to come back from and not hurt yourself again. Repeat injuries happen there. I also like Zach Charbonnet. We talked about him yesterday. Good offense. 3-down profile. He can handle it. Then after that, I'm looking for running backs on strong teams. So right now we know Jeff Wilson went down. They don't even know if he's coming back or whatnot. It's all up in the air. Nobody knows what's going on. And as much as Raheem, it really is so weird. But really Raheem Mostert, he's somebody I'm looking at. I got Rashad Penny in about the 10th to 13th round, depending on your settings on that. You got Jarrett McKinnon, who can get you some passes, some receptions, stuff like that. But I'm looking for those running backs on good teams because good teams score points. And if you're scoring points, those running backs are going to be involved in those plays somehow, some way. Whether they're helping get down the field or they're punching it in like Jamal Williams will, they will be involved in that scheme somehow.
Yep. Now, there's some guys I want to point out here before we get out of here that have become kind of traps in this format where people think they're getting a value and they're really honestly getting burned. I think you know who I'm about to talk about here. Alexander Mattison.
Yeah.
Alexander Mattison. Guys, this is a trap because this isn't an offense that's going to run the ball. They're hardly going to run the ball. They've got TJ Hawkinson, Jordan Addison. They've got Justin Jefferson. They've got KJ Osborne. Like this is a very loaded team in the passing game. And that's what they're going to do.
It scares me because I have so much Alexander Mattison in Dynasty that I kind of hope you're wrong. And I'm hoping because that defense is really, really terrible, if you pay attention to it, that they're going to have to use him a little bit here and there. But yeah, that falls into a trap. And then for me, like I like Rachaad White, but he's not on the greatest offense. I don't know what's coming from it. So you got to be careful with the dead zone a little bit more with this hero RB strategy. You can't just go for every dart throw. You have to pick and choose the best ones. And then for me on this hero RB stuff, I'm not touching Aaron Jones with a 10-foot pole. I don't know what's coming with that offense. He's still getting drafted way too high. There's AJ Dillon there, a new quarterback. That's not the hero RB I want from that.
No, AJ Dillon is probably the guy at value that you want out of this offense.
And he burned it up at the end of the last season. He was scoring touchdowns left and right. So that's who I want. I don't want the aging running back with volume questions on a offense that we have questions about if they're even going to be good or not. So avoid Aaron Jones. I'll say it now, and I'm sure Packer fans are going to come in my DMs like no other.
Well, here's the thing, though. You guys have got to remember, fantasy football analysis is different than saying someone's a bad player. We're talking about fantasy relevance, which requires volume. If you don't have that volume, they're no good to us in fantasy. Yeah. There are plenty of players. Hunter Henry's a phenomenal football player.
Yeah.
Does he have fantasy football value? We'll see if they use him in the passing game, but that dude can block.
Yeah.
Just keep that in mind before you get mad at us about some of our fantasy football calls. Guys, I want to thank you so much for tuning in today to the latest edition of Fantasy in 15. This week we covered Hero RB strategy. Next, we will be going with, we're not quite sure yet, but we're going to be back with a fantastic draft strategy next time, guys. For Joe Pepe, I'm Nate Palvote here on the Fantasy Sports Network. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we will see you next time on Fantasy in 15.